Hashem Swasai Tiftach Utia Gitol Sacha. We have the zechus of learning Sefer Daniel. So Sefer Daniel, as we had mentioned, is a sefer that has a lot of Aramaic parts. This parak happens to be a storyline because the first 6 prakim are stories, as we mentioned in the introduction. But very significant is a little bit of the historical background that I want to give. So essentially there is Yoshiyahu. Yoshiyahu is the king. He is the king and he has this beautiful tshuva movement. He is kicked into gear because they find a scroll under or in the area while he's cleaning up the Beis HaMikdash. And the scroll is open to the Tochacha. So if the scroll is open to the Tochacha, it's a real eye-opener. He gives it to Chol HaNavi, and Chol HaNavi says, if things don't improve, this is true. The Bnei Yisrael are going to go into Galus, and it's going to start. So he really cleans up the Bnei Yisrael. He removes Avodah Zarah. He cleans up the Beis HaMikdash, and he really is an amazing king. Now, Daniel, the protagonist in our story, he is born in and lives during the time of Yoshiyahu. So he sees the beauty of Bnei Yisrael at their very best. Now, unfortunately, not all of Bnei Yisrael did their very best, and Yoshiyahu ultimately thinks that he's going to be protected, and he isn't, and Parnachov Mitzrayim kills him. After he is killed, his son, Yehoyakim, first there is Yehoachaz. He takes over, and he's good, but he's not appreciated because he's not a puppet king, and so they remove him. He's done, and instead Yehoyakim comes onto the stage. Now this story happens in the 3rd year when Yehoyakim comes onto the stage. Yehoyakim in the 3rd year, what happens? Nebuchadnezzar comes to power. And he puts a siege on Yerushalayim. And while he's doing that siege, he takes some of the beautiful kalim that were sharpened and made beautiful, and he takes them down to Yerushalayim, down to Bavel. Why does he do that? To show and to highlight, look, I really am, I'm the king of all kings, and I want to take relics of, the temple to really, give it to the Jews. And while he's doing that, and this is the beginning of our story, is that he also takes down the precious, not only the precious kalim, but also the precious Jewish children. He takes the finest from the royal family, the real Spiegels, the ones that would definitely get a shidduch right away. But they're only 15 years old, but he takes them at the height of, this transition into childhood, into adulthood, and he takes them down, and that's where this story will begin and unfold. Now, just to bring it all back full circle, Yehoyakim ultimately comes back to Eretz Yisrael. And while he's back in Eretz Yisrael, he becomes a puppet king until he really can't handle it anymore. He rebels. And when he rebels, Nebuchadnezzar ultimately kills him. Subsequently, there's a 3-month period of his son Yehoyachin, and ultimately it goes down to the other brother, his other brother, Tzidkiyahu. And Tzidkiyahu, unfortunately, is a puppet king and a vassal king, and ultimately he tries to run away. We have Tzidkiyahu's tunnels. And Nebuchadnezzar captures him, blinds him, kills all of his children, and really ultimately he is tormented, and that is the end. And once he goes, then the Jews, that is the last part of the Babylonian, the 3 parts of the exile. The first is what we're describing here, where the young children go. Then the Cherush Masker, which is later during Yehoyachin's time, and that is the artisans and all the Talmidei Chachamim and really all the nobles, all the good people of high class go down. And then ultimately with Tzidkiyahu, there's the siege, there's the burning of the Beis HaMikdash, and everybody else goes into Galus. Except for, we know the story of Gedalia, but what we're focusing on right now is the idea of who Daniel is. So Daniel, like we said, he lives during many kings, but ultimately right now, there is a time where Nebuchadnezzar, Bishnat Shlosh L'Malchus Yehoyakim Melech Yehuda, so it's the third year of Yehoyakim Melech Yehuda. Perhaps that is when Nebuchadnezzar, Melech Babel, comes and he lays siege to Yerushalayim. And it's really on the fourth year of the siege, so in between. So he makes a siege, then he brings down, because in the third year, he starts the siege, then he's coronated as king, and he takes over Egypt, and he takes down these beautiful children and a lot of the kelim of the Beis Hamikdash. And then ultimately Yehoyakim is going to come back, only to be killed, really killed by Bavel after he rebels. So with that historical backdrop, we should just understand that Daniel, a lot of it was written in Aramaic. Daniel spoke Aramaic, and so these are things that he is writing about. But ultimately, it was canonized by the Anshe Knesset Hagdola many years later. Because of the importance of Sefer Daniel. And what Sefer Daniel, as we have mentioned, it is the Jew in Gullus. There are many comparisons in this parak and throughout this story that compare to Yosef. Yosef, who is the epitome of the Jew in Gullus. How we act, how we behave, how HaKadosh Baruch Hu is there behind the scenes, even when we just don't see or feel it. And that is what we will learn about Daniel. Daniel has the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in it at the end, because ultimately he really is the man for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So B'Shnas Shlosh Malchus Yehoyakim Melech Yehuda Bad Nebuchadnezzar Melech Babel Yerushalayim Yotzer Aleh, and he makes a siege. And here is one of the a very important part. Vayitain Hashem biyado. Hashem gives Nebuchadnezzar into his hands, not because Nebuchadnezzar is amazing, but because Hashem chose him to be the shaliach for this devastation and destruction. And there is a Gemara that talks about how that could have happened. Why Nebuchadnezzar? So remember, we discussed many moons ago that it was Nebuchadnezzar who found that there was a mistake in the letter that was written from the king that suggested that he didn't put Hashem first. He put the king, he wrote a letter, and he put the king first, and then Hashem. And Nebuchadnezzar got up and took 3 steps towards trying to undo, because he was a young person in the king's palace. And those 3 steps were the 3 stages of the Gullus that ultimately he created, because he had some level of respect and understanding of who HaKadosh Baruch Hu is. And so here, Hashem gives into his hand Yehoyakim Melech Yehuda and some of the Beis Elokim, the Kelim of the Beis Hamikdash, Vayivi'im Eretz Shinar, and he brings them to Eretz Shinar. Why is it called Shinar? Well, it reminds us of the time of the rebellion of, in Bereshis with the Migdal Bavel, where they were trying to reach HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Beis Elokav, Es HaKelim Havi Beis Otzer Elokav. So Elohav. So what does he do? He brings all of these kelim that he has, that he, in front of his God. He is showing, it is my God that is in charge. It is me and my God. We are the ones, we are stronger. And then he continues. Vayomer HaMelech la'Ashpenaz, Rab Sarisav. So interesting, the name Ashpenaz suggests that the guy never smiled. And there's a Gemara that talks about that during Nebuchadnezzar's time, nobody smiled. They were all afraid of him. It was like a very hard time in history. But this guy in particular reflected, he was kind of the face of Nebuchadnezzar's kingdom, and he does not smile, and he brings some of Bnei Israel, Mizera HaMelucha, Umin HaPartmim. So what does he do? He takes some children of royal descent of the nobility, Yaladim asher ein bahem mum, they don't have any blemish, which reminds us of the korban. They are the korbanos. Tov mareh, beautiful to look at. Maskilim b'chol chachma, they are smart, biodei das, and they're sharp, mada, and they're really capable of everything. Asher koach behem, and they're strong. Lamod behechal hamelach ulamdam sefer lashon kasdim, and he does that so he can teach them, he can train them. They can be part of his unique grouping that will ultimately be exactly what he wants. They are going to be inculcated into the Bavel society. They are going to be they're taking away from the beauty. It says that, remember we said 9/10 of all things beautiful went from Hashem, gave it to Yerushalayim, meaning to the Bnei Israel, and so he wanted to tap into that beauty. He is a very smart, shrewd guy, and he's thinking, you know what, this is, we have the Aryan mentality. These are the best mentioned. We're going to inculcate them into our society, and that will be something that will be amazing. Vayaman lahem hamelech b'dvar yom b'yomo. And so the king he had this training. The training was going to be for 3 years, and at the end of which they're going to enter into the king's service, and he's going to give them particular food, particular wine. He's going to educate them in a particular series. They're going into training. And who are these Bnei Yehuda? Who's from the royal family? Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. And if you think about their names, these names all have the name of Hashem. Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. So they are the best revenge. These are the best shidduch valued guys that there are, and they are all in the house, the palace, the kingdom of Bavel. And what happens is that there's a chief officer who gives them new names. First thing that we do, you change your name, you change your mazel. Now they're going to be of different status. We know this. This is also, ding, ding, this is a reminiscent moment where we think about Yosef, Tzafnas Paneach. He also had a different name. And because he rose first he was a slave, then he became the Sar, a very important person. And here too, they are rising. They're no longer Jewish children, but now they're going to be, Daniel is Belshazzar, Hananiah is Shadrach, Mishael is Mishach, and Azariah is Eben Nago. These are all names that associate with the gods of Bavel. And so now they're being inculcated again, trying to be brainwashed into Bavel society. And what happens? What is Daniel, who is the best revenge? What does he decide? Asher lo higel b'fas bag hamelach. Anything that is cooked, he will not eat. He will not drink the wine. He will not, and he asks the Sar Hasarisim asher lo yitgal. And he says, please, I cannot defile myself. I will not eat and drink your food. I would rather starve. You can kill me now. I'm not going to eat the food. And Vayitin Elokim es Daniel l'chesed u'leracham l'fnei Sarisim. Okay, here we go again. Here's where the Yad of Hashem comes in. So the Yad of Hashem gave over everything bad to Nebuchadnezzar. Everything's going bad for us. But what does Hashem do? With small chasadim. The first chasad that we see here is that it is, yes, this guy he has compassion. He's very kind towards Daniel. And what does he say? He says, I'm really afraid of Nebuchadnezzar. He has a regimen of what you're going to eat and what you're going to drink. And if you don't look good, then I don't look good. You're putting my life in jeopardy by not eating exactly what it is, because I don't want, what's going to happen is, Penechem Zoafim, you're going to start to look very frail. You're not going to look good. And I'm going to be in trouble, because this diet is very specific. It means that I have to train you and give you the foods that are going to keep you strong and keep you fit and keep you mentally, have mental acumen. And what is the Daniel? So Daniel he doesn't say anything to him. He's already decided, this isn't going to work. So now he goes to the Meltzar, the guy who's actually giving him the food. that the chief officer put in charge of Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, and he says, listen, Nas na esabdecha yamim asara. Now he's talking like a true Jew. Give me 10 days. Give me 10 days, and what are you going to feed me? Zeroim. You're going to give me either legumes or seeds. V'nacha mayim minishte. I'm just going to have water to drink. I'm going to be on a vegan diet for 10 days, and you're going to see everything's going to be fine. Then test me out. You're going to look at my appearance. You're going to see that the vegan diet really does work, but and that it's going to be better. It's going to be so good that it's going to be better than the people that are eating the pasbag hamelach, the cooked food. And Vayishma lahem hadavar hazeh, again a miracle. They listened to this guy. Why would you listen? You have a set regimen. You're just supposed to follow orders. Your king has literally an anger management problem, and yet you're vayanasem yamim asara for 10 days. What does this remind us of? Well, if you think about the Aseres Metshuva, you know that one of the major things of Aseres Metshuva is not to eat from pas akum. Right? We keep to Chalav Yisrael, we keep to Pas Akum, we keep to the idea of we do not eat Goyish food. Well, because the 10 days that Daniel, what was he doing? He is showing what it is to be a Jew in Gullus. He will not eat with the Goyim. He will not associate the eating. We know from Moshe Rabbeinu, he wouldn't nurse from a minekes that was not a woman from a Jew. That's it. Because that's what happens. Food affects your soul, and he won't do that. Vayihi hameltzar noses pasam, again, and that's what happens. And so the guard kept removing their food, and he ate it instead. And Hashem made all of these. Here we go with Hashem again. And these yeladim nasan lahem Hashem mada behaskel b'chol sefer v'chachma. Daniel had been b'chol chazos v'chalamos. Everything is understood. Hashem made a miracle, and these guys are smart and proficient. And he could also understand visions and dreams. Visions and dreams. What does that remind us of? Again, Yosef, he is the interpreter of dreams. We see another deeper connection. We're seeing that this is the strength of Gullus that was inculcated in Yosef HaTzadik. Daniel has it too. And so what happens is, when it comes to the presentation and they present him from Nebuchadnezzar, what do we get? What is a Jew able to do? But Yedaber itam hamelech lo nimtza mikulam keDaniel Hanani Mishael. They are the valedictorians. They are so much better, and it's obvious when you see them in front of the Melech. V'chol davar chachmas bina asher bikish mehem hotiam eser. Again, the 10. Again, 10 times they were smarter than everybody else, and they're better than everybody else in every sort of way. And Vayihi Daniel ad shnas achas l'koresh hamelech. And so he becomes there in the palace, and he works as an advisor, and he becomes a senior officer in the palace until Koresh. And so what's happening, what we see here is, again, this idea of 10 times better. HaKadosh Baruch Hu continues to hold the hands of Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah through the Gullus. Now, are they suffering on a day-to-day basis? Yes, they thought they were going to become priests. They didn't understand what this brainwashing system is all about. They've been taken out of Eretz Yisrael. They're taken out of their home. There's clearly a lot of pain and suffering, and they're children. But at the same time, HaKadosh Baruch Hu literally is hand-holding them. And all of the things that could have gone wrong are not going wrong. And they're coming out ahead 10 times better. Asara, right? We know the Asara Harugim Malchus. We understand that there are going to be times in history where things are so bitter and bad. But really, we rise above it. That's what a Jew does. And this is the prescription of how you do that in Gullus. What do? You separate out. You make sure that Hashem is always in the forefront of everything you do. And Hashem is like, I've been here all along, and I've been holding your hand. And that is the first part of Sefer Daniel.